Welcome, love leaders, to the Dr. Shannon live show. Wow, we're going to talk about a heavy topic today. So, a lot of people in this world today are so confused with what real intimacy is. In fact, they really replace the word intimacy as a free exchange of what they mean by sex. And so it really cheapens what the true sense of the word of intimacy, right? So here is my definition that I really work as a foundation with my couples in learning how to love well and to connect richly and deeply. So, are you ready for this? Sexual intimacy is a culmination of multiple levels. Knowing one another emotionally, sharing with each other mentally, and joining together in spiritual meaning and purpose that culminates in a physical exchange, ultimately in nakedness and the act of becoming one. That's deep, right? So when couples feel safe and secure to share vulnerable at those levels of holistically all the things that embody them as a unique individual, that they are able to expose their emotions, their thoughts, their spirit part of themselves in a space out loud and sometimes verbal and nonverbal, free expression without fear or angst that their partner is able to hear, receive, and hold space with acceptance, love, care, without fear of ridicule or judgment. When that kind of safety and security is present, that bond thrives. And then we are able to have freer expression in the most intimate act of oneness. Listen, I work with couples all the time, and they come in and they talk about how that intimacy has been eroded over and over and over again, and the level of sexual dysfunction that co-occurs in that setting is sometimes, most of the time, when that underlying level of intimacy begins to falter and that safety and security begins to slowly disappear. The first thing that normally goes is a healthy sexual union. And so, as I'm working with couples in maybe areas of sexual dysfunction, we begin rebuilding it at those more foundational levels of the safety and security, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And it's kind of the area that then last gets restored. And so we have it all backwards in this culture today. You know, when we try to put the cart before the horse, where we are trying to engage in that sexual intimacy piece, but we don't have that felt sense of safety and security, maybe in some other arenas, maybe because of unresolved conflict or unresolved pain points or disconnect in prioritized feelings. of being heard and loved and accepted, that our partner is available and responsive to us, that we um, feel like we matter to them. And so we try to kind of go from the backwards to the front. And I really want to encourage you to really take in that the way that God designed us to connect at every level of our being, in the way that He made us, mind, body, spirit, that the gift of sexual union is the outward expression of that internal neurobiological work in the way that He designed and wired us for. I know, I told you it was going to be a little heavier today. The hope is there because I have worked with so many couples that have gone through limping in this area where they are either settling for less than the richness of what God's definition and design was for, or the elimination of what He intended for us to be able to experience, that mutual pleasure of connection. I've heard pains of, stories where there hasn't been that connection for months or years. And then I've also heard the pains of the story of how um, the act is just a behavioral demonstration without the other components, leaving feelings of aloneness when He really intended it to be a renewal system and a celebration of that life togetherness that He intended and He made us to experience. So today I go out, I offer you a challenge. I have a marriage assessment that can take you through really exploring what dynamics of the relationship might need to really be enhanced. It's there on my website. You can use my QR code to grab it. But also, begin to explore, how vulnerable do I feel like I can be with what I feel, with what I think? And listen, that can be any arena. It can be positive celebrations and it can be areas of challenge. Or it could be the darkest insecurities, fears, and inadequacies, or it could be hopes and dreams that we might not have risked sharing. So take the challenge, push through that avoidance or fear or uncertainty or doubt or awkwardness. And let's build those other levels of intimacy in the relationship that ultimately can enhance the expression, that physical togetherness, that sexual oneness that God experienced. As always, I want to be here to encourage you to deepen and enrichen your ability to learn how to love well in your most important relationship. And I'm always here for you, for anyone out there that wants to talk to me free. I offer a free 30-minute consultation if you want to confidentially and privately talk about how you too can get to that next rich level within your relationship. You can go to the QR code on my website. There is access for you to schedule that private, confidential 30-minute free phone consultation where we can map out how you too can have this same definition of that true intimate bond. So let me say it one more time. I'm going to leave you at that today. Sexual intimacy is a culmination of multiple levels. Knowing one another emotionally, sharing with each other mentally, and joining together in spiritual meaning, and purpose. These all culminate in a physical act of nakedness where we are becoming one. All right, love leaders, as always, I'm here for you. I'll see you next week on the Dr. Shannon Live Show. And if you want more information on this concept, you can buy my book, Naked and Exposed, on Amazon, or you can access that through my website, or you can go into my Love Leading podcast, Love Leading with Dr. Shannon podcast. It's on all of the podcast formats. And this week's episode talks about what is intimacy and why is it so elusive. All right, we'll talk to you and see you next time.